Gucci? What's up, y'all? What's good? What's Gucci? Let's keep it clear, y'all. So today we finna talk about the mom who now wants to sue Nickelodeon. So if you do not know who Tracy Brown is, Tracy Brown, her son was on all that season 7 and 8, and now she wants to sue. So we're going to react to this video by Obscure Nickelodeon, the mom who wants to sue Nickelodeon. The mom who wants to sue Nickelodeon. The mom who wants to sue Nickelodeon.
And now she wants to sue them. So let's deep dive and thrive. So today I wanted to talk about a mother. Her name is Tracy Brown. She is the mother of former child star Brian Hearns. Brian Hearns was a child star actor. He was in the movie Hardball, and most notably, he was on All That season 7 and 8, which is the second generation of All That after the Amanda Bynes, Kenan Thompson era of All That. He was there to be kind of the Nick Cannon type of player on the show. And, you know, he was quite funny and everything. And he got fired after 2 seasons. And let's find out why. Lately, Tracy has been doing all these live streams, speaking about her experience with Nickelodeon in general, claiming that Dan S, I'm not going to say his name, but just DS, you know who, is unoriginal. She also claims that many of the crew members that worked on set were predatorial, and which came out as true for a lot of it because they got arrested throughout the years.
Fuck you, Nickelodeon.
And she also says that the producers wanted there to be a separation of child and parent on set. Let's check out this clip.
Ryan Robbins brought my son on All That after the movie Hardball. Then that company disbanded. And then...
First of all, good kudos to you, Mom. You pulled your child. Kudos to you. Even though y'all stayed for 2 more seasons, but Mom was like, "We're gonna do this. We're not gonna miss out on this money, but I'm gonna watch my baby like a hawk." Kudos to you, Mom. But you still should have pulled your child out off of the show. Let's see.
I'm not really sure what happened at this point. But then Dan Schneider took over All That. And Dan Schneider did not like me. For whatever reason. Maybe I was too loud. So then they decided they didn't want my son on the show anymore and sent us back to New York. And basically, that's where everything stopped. So sometimes, guys, you have to trust God in the process. Right. If anybody knows what I mean when they bring up Dan Schneider and he decided to get rid of me, you know, Dan Schneider, you did me a favor. You did my son a favor. Because then there were all these rumors that I don't even want to get into. And God is good. Because there are many times on that set where they're like, hey, we want to invite Brian to a party. And I'm like, hey, just Brian? And they go, yes. And I'm like, no. And they don't like moms that take control of their child. But I had heard things. So guess what? You don't need to like me. And they were like, well, bye-bye. And I was like, let's go. I was not going to do anything for the money. Like, y'all need to understand, I'm that woman. I'm that mom. I'm not going to do anything that might compromise my son, not even for the income. We went home. Gladly.
The mother in me should have been valued, should have been respected. And my son should have been valued and
My
respected.
son,
And how
my
many
son should have been
opportunities?
down. Like
How
you
many
are like, how
opportunities?
dare you fire him?
Well,
Because
with
you
that being
couldn't use
said,
him for your purposes.
how
You were
many
gonna say how many
opportunities did you
opportunities?
miss?
Plenty. They cost us money. Like, why was it not okay for me to allow like some sense of parental discipline? Like, why were
Mhm.
you so interested in taking that away from me?
Because, like the lady said in this video, we can have Brian. I just don't like this Nickelodeon stuff. We can have Brian, and we can have Brian do things that we want Brian to do others, and that's not how it works, Nickelodeon. Y'all need to be sued. Y'all need to be sued big time, allegedly.
Because if they had taken you out the picture, then we can have him and we can do whatever we want to with him.
Thank
And
you.
we can have him
Thank you.
do whatever we want him to do with others.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm even thinking about suing Nickelodeon.
I
Seriously.
mean, yeah.
No.
I don't
Like,
see why you
how
wouldn't,
dare
because
you
that
just
is
not let me be a mother? Like, how dare you?
So the separation of child and parent seems to be a common element throughout a lot of these stories we hear. We hear it in Angelique Bates' story, and it's very similar to what's happening here, pretty much of what she's claiming happened. And it seems to be a common element more specifically on DS's sets. But we can go into detail in a future video on that whole separation of child and parent. Here, I want to primarily focus on the clips that were sent to me of Tracy saying she wants to sue Nickelodeon. Now look at this.
Nickelodeon made me feel like the worst
like
person
less than.
ever.
Mm-hmm.
Less than. They made me feel like, even as an African American mom, that I didn't know what was best for my son.
That
They
you missed
cost
out
us
on.
money. They cost my son self-esteem.
Mm.
Even like giving the impression to my son that his mother is your mother's the problem. But meanwhile you're looking to raise secretly. I'm thinking about suing Nickel, and I'm dead serious. I'm so pissed right now.
So, judging from that clip, I find it very out of line for people just in general outside of your family to be telling you how to parent your child. Like, that is very odd, I find. Like, why would your son's employers tell you as a parent how to raise your child? Like, that is just an odd dynamic in general, and I just find that personally out of line, and I would have been offended like by that in general. And the truth is, with a lot of these Hollywood people, they try to eliminate a lot of the people that are very good and they are very human, as in they are not going to comply with whatever they have in mind, with whatever sick games they have going on. And once they know that you're
We see this in everybody's story. Keep in mind, y'all, we see this in Angelique Bates' story. We see this in Rock Poli's story. We see this in everybody's story. Why is there a black people leaving Nickelodeon so quickly? Because we're going to start calling this racism, y'all. It is going to be called racism. Brian Hearn was kicked off. My favorite character, Angelique Bates, was kicked off. Um, Somebody else, Rock Polly, was kicked off of the Amanda Show. And then Taina, I don't know what that show is. I think it's a show about a next, and that show ends up getting canceled. So what we're gonna call it is racism. And then Zoe 101 is not that many black characters on there.
you're not going to play their games. You're either going to try to be surface level, they're going to try to figure different ways of getting what they want. And I also find that they're going to try to play nice guy in some way, even though after when they know that you're not going to play along and go along with whatever they are planning to offer. And they picked up that Tracy was a great mother for being there for her child. She wasn't going to let anyone take advantage of her son in any sort of form. And it's very clear. And that's why her and her son were gone very quickly, very early on. So in this next clip, she says why she wants to sue them. So take a look.
Let me tell you something. It felt also very racial to
That's a hard.
diminish the black boy in the group.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very racial too,
Mhm.
like to say to the only black.
It's a lot of, we see this in a lot of people's story. We see it in Giovanni's story. Why is there so many? Let's think about that topic of discussion in this live. Why is there so many black people leaving Nickelodeon shows, and why is there not that many black people in Disney Channel and stuff? They tell them, "Oh, your color's not good. This is not good. This is not good." Y'all need to work on that, Disney and Nickelodeon. We see it in Disney Channel
Boy in the
too.
group, we don't value you.
We don't value you. And now, because then you knew it was wrong, right? You knew it was wrong, but there was a part of you that was just like, you're just a mom trying to raise your kid. You're just a mom trying to protect your kid. Like, you didn't have the time to piece together what was being said to you.
It's a part of this system, though. It is real in this system, this isolated system. If you're somehow or another, you do the same thing. It's psychological damage, and they need to be responsible for giving kids some medical help. They do, and they damage my son. Like, you wanted him to turn out like a pervert?
There are some amazing points that are being made here, I think. And I think, there's a pattern of racism that happens at Nickelodeon, allegedly. But from what I've noticed and from what we've talked in past videos, people of color on these shows in front of the camera, they seem to disappear quickly than the white people on these shows. We talked about how Kristen Herrera gone after one season of Zoe 101. Angelique Bates gone after 2 seasons of All That. Brian Hearns gone after 2 seasons of All That. Raquel Lee gone after 1 season of The Amanda Show. And then also Taina being canceled after 2 seasons. And Nickelodeon coming up with a really interesting response. We'll have to get into a video of why Taina was canceled on Nickelodeon in general, while its white counterparts, The Amanda Show, got 3 seasons. If you notice, a lot of the actors that seem to go early on these shows, majority of them are people of color. So there is some sort of pattern here. Why is it always people of color? And you can only use, oh, they got the police involved, oh, they did this, oh, they did that. You can only play off that for so long. You can only play off that for so long before we call it racism. Because it is racism, and that's what it is. And I totally see that. Another point she made here is her son experienced PTSD from the whole situation because he was 12 or 13 when this happened, and adults were saying that he is not valued. It is fine to critique someone's acting skill because kids do need criticism, of course, but for an adult to go out of their way to tell it to a 12 or 13-year-old boy that he is not valued on this set is absolutely insane. And I think that you have to remember that these kids are not fully developed. They do not have fully developed brains yet. So when you're telling that to someone who is not fully developed, that could do a lot of damage to their self-esteem, to their confidence, to everything that they need to grow up as an adult in this world. Saying that to a 12 or 13-year-old is pretty triggering and traumatizing. And, I do think Nickelodeon should be held accountable for traumatizing children like that. Like, they are literally, the adults should be held accountable in this situation, and they should pay for the therapy, for the support that is needed afterwards. At the very least, they could do that. Alexa Nicholas said she had to go through years of therapy and had to pay for years of that after Zoe 101. And I could I'm guaranteed that Nickelodeon did not pay a cent in that. She had to do that all herself from being traumatized by the adults on that set. There needs to be some sort of support for these child actors in some way to when they leave these jobs, these employers, because they are still children, to at the very least have some sort of support. Because do you want all your former child stars to come out of your brand thinking like, oh, my brand did not help me at all, they traumatized me? Do you want that to be the story for everyone? Because that's what it's going to be if there is no sort of legal support or mental health support for these children. They're all going to end up like Amanda Bynes and Drake Bell. Do they really, really want that? Like, I feel there should be some type of law that if you're going to, let go of a minor from a job, you should at least show some sympathy.
Like Nickelodeon, like the parents should do a class action lawsuit, like to pay for like the therapy that they're going to need after the brand. But my thing is, you still kept your child in the industry. That's how the parents are. I think I'm going to lose the lawsuit with Nickelodeon because you continue to keep your child in the industry. That's how the parents are going to lose this lawsuit with Nickelodeon because this does not make any sense. They need to pay for parental and never mind, for the parents need to sue, and I think that's sad that Dan Schneider gets to win, but he's not going to win as long as I'm
give them some sort of help, give them some sort of guidance, and don't tell them that they're just going to be this useless, washed up child star. There should be some sort of encouragement and be a good business and show some ethics, especially for a kids network. They should be showing good values. I don't know how they can brand themselves as this.
Okay, y'all, that was the end of the video. I think Tracy Brown, y'all should sue Nickelodeon, sue Paramount, sue anybody. Let me see, why live lazy? Sue Paramount, Nickelodeon, Viacom, Nickelodeon, CBS. And I think it should be a class action lawsuit against Nickelodeon. So, therefore, this is the end of this video. Make sure y'all subscribe, like this video, and that's it with this reaction. Good night, everybody.